We can now speak to economist and CEO of Meyer Resources, Cornelia Meyer. Cornelia, brilliant to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Hello, Leanne. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So both leaders hailed a new golden age for the US-Japan alliance after signing two agreements. One of the deals secured was the supply of rare earth and critical minerals. How essential are these to the US and the battle with China over these commodities?
Well, they're very essential to the US. They're also essential to Japan, because if you look at car production, if you look at the defense industry, if you look at a lot of the manufacturing, mobile telephones, a lot of the things Japan does and the US do need rare earths. However, it's great. I mean, it's a very vague agreement. I've read of what I could get from the agreement, and it says we will collaborate. We'll have the right policies to cooperate. However, when you look at it, the refining, especially the refining capacity, is to more than 90% in China, and that is not that easily moved because the amount of acid, it's a very difficult process and a very environmentally difficult process. So the amount of acid you have to keep pouring on to get these rare earths processed, that is very difficult to do in any OECD countries, even in the US under Donald Trump. So yes, they're moving in the right direction, but how much fight it really has, especially on the refining side, I don't know.
And that's really interesting because Beijing controls the processing of almost all the world's rare earth minerals. Can Trump's new deals in Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam and Cambodia possibly change that? Or as you were just saying to me, it's the time involved in this.
Well, it's the time involved and the environmental, the willingness to take environmental pain. And that, you're looking at 3 to 5 years. But there is some upside as well. There is one mine in Wyoming which can actually process a lot of these minerals in big quantities in an environmentally sound way because they have no radiation. So some people are working at full speed to try to lessen the dependence on China.
As mentioned, China does control the rare earths the world buys, which has given Xi Jinping powerful leverage in the ongoing trade war with Washington. We know the two leaders are meeting tomorrow. On Thursday. What can we expect from this meeting between Trump and Xi?
Well, I think they will try to make nice because the US needs the rare earths, and Xi needs access to the American market. So I think we will see a resolution. And I saw Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, on Sunday, saying, look, they've come up with a good framework agreement. So I think it's good. What I would like to say again also to the Japanese deal, they have 550 billion that they've said they would invest the Japanese in the US, and they have fleshed out some areas where they could do that, namely also copper, because this whole era is not about only rare earths. It's also about copper. It's also about lithium. It's about helping the electrification of the world. It's also about powering the big power demand for AI, which, the data centers. So they have worked on that as well. And copper is easier. The US is planning a new processing sites, and, they can easily get it from Peru, and they can easily get it from Chile. So there are other things that are important that they're really making headways on.
And how are markets reacting ahead of the meeting between the leaders of the world's two biggest economies? Because we have actually seen gold slightly dip.
Yeah, gold has slightly dipped, and you saw the stock market. I think yesterday we had an all-time high, and we also had an all-time high on the Nikkei, which is very good. And I personally, with having spent a lot of time in Japan, I personally am very happy to see that the U.S. and Japan again see each other as such key allies.
And how regionally important is Japan for the US to make sure they do have strong allies?
It's very important. Japan and Korea are very important, as is Taiwan. But Japan and Korea, if this one China policy of the US does worry both Japan and it does worry South Korea, and then you have North Korea on the back of it, and you saw a very clear message again with Prime Minister Takaichi and President Trump going to see families of people who were abducted by North Korea. So you have a nuclear powerful North Korea. You have China with huge military strength. So the US does need South Korea and Japan there to counterbalance China, and South Korea and Japan do need the US as a staunch ally.
And another final thought from you. Donald Trump has floated Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent as the new Fed chair. You mentioned him earlier. He's been heavily involved in these framework deals between the US and China. What do you make of this appointment that could possibly come?
Well, if it comes, I think it would be positive because he is a good economist. He knows, as we say in England, he knows his onions. So I think, and he has shown a remarkably steady hand through choppy waters since the beginning of the new Trump administration. So he would probably be a good choice, especially as he seems to get along well with Donald Trump. But it's always helpful if the Fed chair and the president get along.
Which we're not seeing now with Jerome Powell, are we? Do you expect rate cuts?
No, but you see, I expect rate cuts, yes, because looking at where the economy is. But Jerome Powell was appointed by Donald Trump in Trump 1, in the Trump 1 administration. So yes, I expect rate cuts, and come April next year, that is the time when we'll see who the next Fed chair is. And a lot can happen between now and April next year.
24 hours is a long time in politics. Cornelia Meyer, thank you so much for your time this evening.